Hello, so the first thing that we're going to do when we arrive to the home is we're going to make direct contact with the client to let them know that we're here and that we're going to begin work, the service work that the job order calls for. So we're going to knock on the door. It's either going to be a one-man crew or a two-man crew. Today it's a one-man crew. I'm working alone, and so I'm going to make contact with the client and then begin the setup on the inside. In the initial setup portion of our chimney suite, we find a good spot for our turbo vac to sit, which will be turned on for the entirety of the job. That will collect the ash from this particular wood burning fireplace. And so I'm going to set it here on the patio. The hose is going to run up the side of the house into the window. So when we get to the home, we will find that particular door or window that is in the same room or very close to the wood or gas appliance, so that we can set our vacuum outside. The reason we leave our vacuum outside is, even though we use really expensive HEPA filters, we found that the best filter on the market cannot capture 100% of the soot. So we don't even want there to be 1% of the soot to be in the home, airborne. So that's why we leave the vacuum outside, and it will run for the entirety of the job. We have a fairly wide range of tools and brushes and attachments for a vacuum that will allow us to completely and adequately clean the fire chamber and the smoke chamber as it leads up into the chimney venting. We usually clean the chimney venting from the top, and we clean the firebox area, the damper area, and the smoke chamber from the bottom. We have a small tote like this with multiple brushes and attachments that I'll use. Every job is just a little bit different, so we have several in there that I'll be using during the suite portion of this particular fireplace. So I'm going to go ahead and get right at it. So I start by inserting the vacuum into the firebox area, so that when I start knocking down from the highest point to the lowest point, the ash, that it catches all of that. This particular fireplace has a refractory baffle, which is designed, the engineers of this particular fireplace designed this so that the efficiency of this particular unit could meet EPA standards. So I gently remove this baffle, and I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to set it out to the side so that I can clean further up the chimney combustion system towards the chimney vent. As you can see, I'm touching every square inch of the smoke chamber area and the firebox area with the brush. This particular fireplace burns very efficiently, and this particular client burns very good wood, and so the buildup is very light and fluffy, as it should be, and so it takes nothing more than a soft bristle brush to knock down the buildup. The importance of servicing your fireplace and chimney every year is, even though this is light and fluffy, if a person would skip a year and continue to burn, everything that you see that is light and fluffy now would be burned into the surface and become hard and creosote, and it's harder and harder. It takes much more work and coaxing to get that build-up material off of there if the chimney is not maintained annually. As you can see, a little bit of dust will come out onto the hearth extension area on this particular stove. So we have the hearth extension and we have our tarps located here to catch anything that might drop onto the hearth or the hearth extension. Part of the sweep's job is not only to clean the fireplace and the venting system, but also to always keep an open eye for the discovery of any cracks or breaks to any of the parts, the moving parts or the non-moving parts in a fireplace system. Now that I have the entire fire pot or firebox cleaned out, I discovered that there were a couple small cracks in what's called the refractory brick. Every wood-burning appliance has a refractory brick. Some are designed to reflect heat, others are designed to absorb and to hold heat. There's some small cracks here, and then also there's a small crack along the back. Looks like it's been sealed at some point before, but because fires are so destructive in terms with the high heat and the cool and the heat and the cool, these refractory panels often split and just need to be sealed. You can seal them generally 2 to 3 times, and then after you seal them 2 to 3 times, if they become so brittle where the sealer isn't effective anymore, then they need to be replaced. So it's now time for me, since I've done all of my cleaning and discovery in the firebox at the bottom, it's now time for me to climb up onto the roof and to do my discovery and cleaning from the rooftop side. So I'm just about to get up on top of the roof. I have my brush for the chimney and also my brush, which is a paintbrush, yes, and it does work very well on hard to reach places on the chimney cap. And so based on the nature of the buildup, which is very fluffy and light, a paintbrush will be best. We do have wire brushes and more stout bristle brushes, but this will work fine. This is a Class A chimney or a stainless steel chimney, and so we use a poly brush, a stiff bristle poly brush, to clean that off. And I'm taking up rods, several rods, just to make sure that when I get up there I have enough. So just about to get up. This particular house has eaves all the way around, so it's necessary for us to lean the ladder up against the eave. But in this case, we tried to make the ladder more vertical than having more of a horizontal pitch to it, so that more of the weight is on the ground, so that we protect the eave trough of the client. So I'll meet you up top. So welcome to the rooftop of it is a beautiful May afternoon in the state of Michigan, in Okemos, Michigan, and we are now at the top of the Class A chimney. This is the termination cap, and I'm going to remove that. Some of them have fasteners, others are friction fit. This is a friction fit termination cap, so it just wiggles. It just wiggles off and may have to be just sort of popped off gently. So in this case, the cap has quite a bit of buildup on the inside, and again, that's why I brought my brush up with me, so that I can clean this cap properly and completely, so that again the efficiency of the appliance would be at its maximum, and as well so that there's no blockages that occur during the next burning season once the fall hits and our client begins to use her fireplace again. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this, and as I do, I'm going to put my mask down again because of natural draft, and then also because of the soot flying. I just don't want to breathe in those soot particles. Well, as you can see, it's somewhat of a juggling act up on top of the roof. This particular roof has about an 8-12 pitch and is steep, and we're at the second story. It's about a 2.5, closer to 3-story up at this ridge. And so it's a little bit of a juggling act to have your brush, your hand brush, all of your rods and your chimney brush, the termination cap, and also this in front of you, and then also sweep the chimney safely. So I'm using a lot of the roof's friction to keep myself from sliding, but also my feet are gently leaning up against the flashing so that I don't slide down the roof. So it is somewhat of a dangerous proposition, but we've done it a long time, and we have great respect for heights and for roofs. And so as long as you take your time and do things methodically, the job is done safely. So I'm going to insert the first rod and the poly chimney brush into the Class A chimney and start running the brush down. How many times I do this will depend on how much soot comes out each time I pull the brush out. Generally speaking, on a Class A chimney, 2 or 3 passes is sufficient. Okay, so I have the brush at the bottom at the damper area. I'm going to go ahead and reverse the brush now and run it 2 more times based on the amount of soot that's coming up. It's quite substantial. So I'm going to begin reversing the brush. Doing so, I gently reverse the bristles of that brush that's down near the damper, and it begins to come up. Now twist the brush so that the bristles hit it in a different spot, and I go down again. And this is the final time. Notice I must maintain my balance. I must maintain 18 feet of chimney rod, as well as recognizing any potential issues with the roof termination of the venting system, either the cap, the flashing, or the chimney vent itself. Since this is my last time as I come up, I'll take the rods apart. As you can see, there's still a little bit of ash and soot that's being drawn out of the chimney system by natural draft. That will continue to happen for several hours after the chimney cleaning is completed. Most of it will make it out into the outside atmosphere, but some may settle down and fall back into the firebox. So if there's a small little dusting of soot in the firebox, doesn't mean the sweep didn't do his job. It just meant everything that was suspended in the chimney chase itself or into the chimney vent itself, most of it comes out, but some of it falls back down. I will now reinstall the termination cap that I have cleaned and inspected. Chimney termination cap, again, this one is a friction fit, so I just want to fit it down towards seats. Doesn't need a lot of coaxing. we noticed while up on the rooftop was that the chimney stack was very, very near to minimum code requirement for height above the roof line. The Michigan Mechanical Code, the MRC, the Michigan Residential Code, calls for determination of that chimney to be 3 feet above anything within 10 feet. Real close. It would be real close for the top of that, the center of that cap. We ran a 10-foot string over. We may hit the chimney, or we may hit the roof before we reach the end of our 10-foot string. And so we will have a discussion with the client about how her fireplace is performing in terms of draft. There are certain downdrafts at certain times, and so we pursue and it is our goal to achieve minimum code requirement with the Michigan Mechanical Code. The very last thing we do after we have completed the chimney cleaning, packed up all of our gear, provided the receipt for the client, is we do what's called a dummy walk in our company. We take one walk around the home to make sure that we haven't left any gates open or any tools on the ground or anything that might be left that we may need at our next job, or perhaps might be some sort of a hazard for our client. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take my dummy walk around the home.